Okay. You were raised religious and you're fine? Cool. Not everything's about you, babe. In 2026, can we leave like circumstantial evidence, or not circumstantial, anecdotal evidence in the past? Like, for real, can we please just like grow up a little? Like, there's no way you genuinely believe that overrides any systemic argument or any societal argument. Being like, oh, well, gay people are kind of shamed publicly. Well, I don't feel like I was shamed for being gay. Okay, cool. So all of like homophobia erased. Like, in what world does that argument actually play out in your favor? If you're being good faith. If you're being bad faith, any bad argument can go out in your favor. But geez, I was just watching some old streams of Destiny on like YouTube. Oh my god. These people in these circles, it's like they can have intellectual language, but they behave so childishly, and it's crazy. It drove me insane. It was like some stream from 4 years ago with like Anna or something. So dumb, so dumb, so dumb. Hi, how are you?
Patty cake with no hands. Got me in this club making wedding plans. If I take pictures while you do your dance, I can make you famous on Instagram.
Oh, why'd you run? Damn, why'd you run? You were doing so good. But y'all, if you disagree with the background or have questions about it, feel free to ask. And if you think you can debate in the opposite, feel free to send a request. You are wrong. No proof needed. It's reality. Okay. Damn. Got my ass. No debate needed. Then you can scroll. Because this is a debate, not for you. Why do you believe that? I believe that religious autonomy should be maximized in society, so people have as much control over their beliefs when it comes to spiritual claims as possible. And I think raising an entire portion, or a large portion of the youth in a society to just accept their parents' beliefs as their own, which we know has a statistically significant effect on adult religiosity, goes against that principle. We should have more free thinking about spirituality in general in society rather than conformity, because it creates hive mindsets around these topics. It's extremely reductive, and I personally think leads to a lot more religious nationalism. And that is also an issue because there's so much ego tied to religiosity because people aren't free thinking or having any education on other religions. And I think it's just raising people in society to be closed-minded. And I don't like that. I think it's wrong. This isn't about your desires, it's about what's moral. If somebody believed that spanking their kid was beneficial to them, do you think I'm just going to say, oh, well, as long as you believe that? No. I can point out harm in it, and I can say that it outweighs any possible, like, positives you believe. Because then if you cannot understand your child having a different religious belief than you, and you can't accept that, maybe don't have children, because that's a very childish mindset to go into parenthood with. They're their own human beings with their own minds, not for you to control every aspect of. Harm only comes when you believe there's no objective truth. You don't even believe that. Do you think there's no religious person that's abusive? There's no non-religious person that's abusive? It's not about subjectivity or objectivity. Most people argue that the abuse comes from the methodology in which religion is taught. You know, like when they send them to conversion therapy, when they kick them out of the house for being gay, when they're like literally go to exorcisms for them. Like, we're not going to act like, oh, you taught a good morality according to scripture, so you have a perfect household. It's just a really bad argument. Hi, how are you?
Doing well, and yourself?
Good. What's your thoughts in the background?
So stop raising children religious. I'm just wondering, why do you think that should be the case?
Did you like literally just join? I explained it. I'm sorry, not to be rude. I did explain it like 30 seconds
Yeah.
ago.
Well, yeah, and I've heard it before, but I'd just like for you to lay out your argument for me.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm just saying you should maximize religious choice in society, and raising an entire portion of the population to accept their parents' religiosity as their own goes against that principle. Do you not think free thinking should be expressed when it comes to spirituality?
Well, yeah, and I think that if we're looking at the Christian worldview, someone who has a thorough understanding of the Christian worldview will understand that free will is something that is given to us by God, that we're made in God's image, so we
Nobody's
have the free
debating free
will.
will. Nobody's
Well, I
debating free
know.
will.
Well, no, I mean, if you listen to me, I'm saying that.
Christians literally argue you have free will chained to a radiator in a basement. This isn't about free will, which is the technicality to use whatever you have in your power to do shit. Like, that's what free will. You have choice to do stuff, even if it's limited by society or your circumstances. We're not arguing free will. We're arguing free, like expressing free choice of religion, which is not the same
Yeah,
thing as
free
free will.
choice and free will is synonymous.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Great. So you can be chained to a radiator and have free will to do what you can in that situation. You don't have a lot of free choices. You don't have the choice to just like get up and get out of that house. You don't have the choice to escape your shackles just because you want to. But you have the free
Yeah, but
will by
who's
technicality to do
chaining
what you
people to
can.
radiators? So where are you getting that from?
Kidnappers? What do you mean?
No, but I mean, as far as this argument goes, if there's a Christian couple that's raising their child in a Christian household, and that child questions things and decides to believe something different,
That
it
wasn't a
would be within.
comparison to that. You said free will and free choice are synonymous, and I said they're not. And I gave an example as to how. Don't change back to the other
Well,
argument
no,
when I'm just replying to this specific argument claim you made.
okay. Well, just because you chain someone to a radiator doesn't mean you strip them of their you've
You
restricted
limit
their
their
will
choices,
of
right?
movement, right? But free
Is
will
their
as a
free will
metaphysical,
gone? No, that's my point.
no,
That's why they're
right.
different.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, whereas their free will of movement is gone, their metaphysical free will can't be. That can't. That's
Which is
part of our
why I said
human
it's
nature. It
pointless to
can't be
argue free
taken
will in
from you.
this argument because nobody's arguing what you can
Well,
technically do.
no. But
You can technically just escape any manipulation or any like
no.
brainwashing.
You're
You can
missing. You're
technically just
missing what
escape
I'm.
any cult mentally that you can. Like, we're not
So,
arguing what is like technically
no, no,
possible.
no,
We're
no, no,
arguing
no,
what's realistic and the
no, no,
impact of
no.
religiosity in
You're
upbringing.
missing. You're missing what I'm trying to tell you, which is that if someone is holding an utmost Christian value, they will allow their child to have free thinking capabilities, because to do the opposite, to restrict your
They
child's
don't.
free thinking, would
Even if
be
I
to
conceded that that was
suppress
the
their free
case, you're
will.
pleading to the minority of religious people who give a shit to even extend that consideration.
Okay, I'd like to
Most
see
parents say,
statistics for
well,
that.
I'm not forcing you to believe it. You can change your mind when you're older, and that's as far as the consideration goes. That's not limiting your amount of influence or giving this expression of free will or choice
Well, no,
that they
I
can believe
think
something different. It's just like, well, I didn't chain you to a radiator, so you shouldn't have any qualms. That's why I'm
no,
like
I
bringing up
think
that
what you're
argument.
conflating is that you believe that the majority of religious households are
Or
somehow
manipulative,
forced
yes.
are abusive and somehow forcing the
Manipulative.
children with the threat of punishment
I didn't bring up
to
the word
believe.
abuse. I said manipulative. You're trying to paint my
Do you think
argument as to
manipulation
being
is a
like, well,
form
well,
of
I'm claiming
abuse?
every religious
Wait,
person is abusive.
is manipulation a form of abuse?
It can be. It
Is it
depends on.
always? What is non-abusive manipulation?
I think if you are being a little manipulative in like a conversation, I think that there's a threshold where it can become abuse, right? If you're like hiding certain things because you don't want to like get a negative reaction from a friend, I can say that's a little bit manipulative. I don't think you're abusing them. I think people can be a
Fair
little
enough.
manipulative out of consideration too.
And you know
You're
what?
trying to,
I would
but you're
probably
trying
agree
to
with that.
demonize the claim to be as harsh as possible when I'm literally just saying it is not beneficial and I can point to harm. I'm not saying that every person is
Okay.
going into this with being like, oh, I'm gonna like fucking get a pole and beat my fucking kid with it. Like, no, I'm making the argument that it is bad to try to pressure your children, which is majority of religious upbringing, to believe the same faith as you. You should give more freedom than that, and most people
Well,
don't give
you
those
don't think
considerations.
that you should teach your children what you believe to be true?
If you don't want to manipulate them into believing it because it's your faith, then you should want to wait, express free
No,
thinking,
no,
and
no.
give
I
them
asked a
more
very
options.
specific question, and
And
you're
I gave you a very
dodging.
specific answer.
No, no, no. Do you think that a person should teach their children what they believe to be true?
Not in all cases. Do you think a Schnazi should raise their kid to be a Schnazi just because they believe it to be true? No, because we're
The-
not arguing that. We're arguing
Well,
what morals or beliefs are moral to pass down to children. You know how some parents pass down their beliefs on what career path is best, and then we call those parents controlling as fuck because they're not giving their kid a lot of like ability to express what they might want to pursue when it comes to maybe they want to be an artist, maybe they want to be a writer, and you're just telling them to be a fucking doctor. You're being very controlling by doing that, by raising them to try to believe that this is the only path in life that they can follow. That's kind of how I see religious upbringing. If you're painting this as well, it is. I'm sorry, it's your soul on the line here sometimes. So you need to believe in it, your life, and commit your life to it, or you might have this negative afterlife. That is how a lot of religious upbringing is framed, whether it's explicitly fear mongered or not.
right, but as insofar as values and morals go, at least in your worldview, a person's morality is subjective, right?
Why are you assuming my worldview? You didn't ask if I believe in a subjective or objective morality or where I base any
I
morality
said right with
whatsoever.
a question mark. That's a question.
Okay, sure. I'm not debating
So
whether
correct me if I'm
subjective or
wrong.
objective. I'm not
Correct
here
me
to
if I'm
debate.
wrong.
Do you want a response or not? Let me know.
Go ahead, but I mean, the point I'm making that you said about the Schnazis
So
is
you
that
don't want a
okay?
response. Keep talking. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just clarifying about what you said that if there's a Schnazi family that teaches these values, now they're if objective morality is true and they're objectively wrong, then they're objectively wrong. But from your worldview's position, if somebody believes themselves to be right and they
Are they
think that they're doing
objectively
the
right? Are
highest,
they objectively right? That's the whole
well,
fucking
again, that's
point.
why I'm asking if you believe in objective or subjective morality.
That's not the same claim. Believing in objective or subjective morality is not the same thing as saying a fact is objectively or subjectively true. Like if you're trying to say like, oh, well, I believe that trans people are valid, then you can have a subjective view of that, and then there can be contesting with other people saying, well, no, I'm making this
No,
argument
I'm
that it's
asking
not
you,
objectively
is
true because it's a societal
Nazism
argument. They can have different views on.
objectively immoral?
Yeah, duh. Everybody
Okay,
fucking says that.
by
Like,
what objective standard is it
but
objectively
great
immoral?
milk toast taste to justify going off topic again. I
No,
just said twice.
I'm
You
just
need to listen
questioning your
now.
worldview, and
No, you're
kind
not.
of
You're
you're kind of
not.
freaking
You're
out a little bit.
avoiding the topic by demanding that I engage in a subjective or subjective debate
Well, you know,
about
because
morality,
you
not
no, because
about
whenever I
claims
said
about morality, which is detracting from the topic. You should understand this. I'm
this is a moral
clarifying
topic,
the duh. So is
so
saying
how is it
rape is
off
bad. Do you need
topic
to?
to
So is
talk
saying
about
rape is bad. Do
subjective
you
and
need to
objective
justify the
morality?
difference between objective and subjective morality to say that that's bad?
No, wait. You said that me talking about
Great. So you
subjective and
can make moral
objective.
claims without having to
No,
go
you're
to an
talking over
objective
me,
or
dude. Can I
subjective
finish
morality.
my
I'm going to mute you.
sentences?
I'm going to mute you. You're not listening. You're not listening. Jesus Christ. Can you stop being insufferable? I'm trying to point out the how unproductive it is to have a subjective or subjective moral debate when we're not talking about subjective or subjective morals. We're talking about subjective versus objective beliefs, as in religion. So stop trying to twist that into, well, oh, you made a moral claim, so this is a subjective or subjective morality debate. No, you don't do that 99% of the fucking time. I can defend a moral position without going into every fucking subjective or subjective debate about morality, which never ends. It's never ended. I've never started that debate, and it's ever gone back to the topic. Ever. So no, it's not productive. Can we please talk about the morality of raising children within religion from something we can agree
Well,
upon, like harm reduction? Or are you never going to respond to any of the moral claims I'm
wait a
making,
minute.
or the morality of maximizing religious autonomy or the free choice, you're not going to like respond to any of that. And you're just going to say, well, what's your moral foundation, rather than respond to any of the moral claims that I made.
Wait. So you want me to just accept your moral claims without questioning your moral foundation? That's what you're saying.
No, and you're dumb and
You
bad faith
understand
for
that that's
saying that.
dishonest as
You're
fuck?
dumb and bad faith for saying that. You know that's not what I said.
That's literally what you just got done describing. You said, I'm going to make
No, you're
moral
just bad
claims,
faith.
but don't you dare question my moral foundation
I said,
because
can you
that's off
address
topic.
my statements? And you took that as
Yeah, I'm
just
addressing
agree
your
with me.
statements about Nazism and how you
No,
said,
we weren't
obviously.
debating whether Nazism was good or bad. Can you stop being
No,
bad
no, no, but
faith?
you made the
Oh
claim
my
that it was.
God.
So I'm wondering
You're
by what
trolling at this
standard you're
point.
calling
You're
it bad.
trolling.
Dude,
Like,
I'm just calling
genuinely.
you out on your own
No, you're
claims.
not calling me out. You're demanding that I engage in a subjective or subjective moral debate when I told you multiple times that it's unproductive and it never ends or goes back to the topic. Because
Well,
I
that's your
said,
assertion. I
no, because
disagree
you're
with
being
you.
bad faith, Eli. I'm not going to let this go until you fucking admit it. I said specifically that I am talking about moral claims that I'm making. And you can
Right.
respond to that without going to moral versus subjective morality debate. And we proved that by saying you can say rape is bad without having to plead to a moral versus subjective or subjective
Okay,
debate.
so
You don't
this
have
is
to
what
have
you're
that
doing.
debate first before making the
No,
claim that like, oh well, children can't consent, like
so this is what you're
alcohol can
doing.
muddy consent. You can make arguments about that without having to go to that foundation. We do that 99% of the time. So you demanding that we do that now rather than addressing my claims, because you can address my claims without pleading to that moral foundation. You can, right?
Wait. So this is what you're doing. Imagine if I said to you, science proves evolution is false. And then you go, wait, what scientific foundation are you basing that claim off of? And I went, are you serious? Everybody's debated this for years and years, and it just gets to nowhere. So you're seriously going to ask me to debate about what my scientific claims are? I made the scientific claim, okay? Science says evolution's false. You're seriously going to ask me about the foundation of my claims? Like, dude, that would be ridiculous. So when you
That's
make a
not
moral
comparable.
argument,
It's
it
not
is totally
comparable.
comparable because you're making a moral argument, and then I ask you about your moral
Why
foundation,
don't
and
we
then you
go
spurg
to why
out and
don't
you
we
act
go
like I can't ask
to
you about that.
why don't
That's
we go to the
ridiculous.
moral foundation every time we make a moral claim? Can you tell me that?
No, I think that if you're going
Answer
to
that
make a
question.
moral claim,
Answer
I'm
that
telling you,
question.
I think that if you're going
You're
to make
not.
a moral
No,
claim,
you're
you should have
not.
a
You're
moral
repeating yourself. You're
foundation.
not answering.
No, I think that if you're going to make a moral claim, you should have a moral foundation.
Thank you for
But
admitting you
I'm
aren't
exposing
answering.
the
Thank you
fact
for
that you
admitting
don't
you're
have
not
one.
answering. You're dodging that
No,
question. It was
I'm
very straightforward.
exposing
I'll
you for
ask it
having
again.
no
No,
moral
it's okay, Eli.
foundation
I know
for your
you're
moral
floundering right
claims.
now, but I'll repeat the question. I'll mute you if I have to. I'll repeat the question. Why don't we have a moral objectivity versus subjectivity debate every time we make a moral claim?
Oh, I think that if one person has an objective moral standard and the other person has a subjective moral
Not what I
standard,
asked.
I think that
Not
is
what I
what happened.
asked. I
That
don't
is
think
what
you
happened.
ask whether somebody has a moral objective standard versus subjective standard every time you make a moral claim. Do you? If you
I
say,
do.
hey, maybe you shouldn't spank your kids, are you going to say, well, actually, where are you foundationalizing those morals? Maybe you could just
Yeah,
say
I
that
ask those
fucking hurts
questions to
people,
everyone.
right? Maybe you can
Yeah, I
plead
ask
to
those
certain things that
questions
we
to
agree
everyone.
upon, like harm
I
reduction,
don't
which
think
I said
anyone is immune from
earlier.
those questions. Not especially not you.
You just don't answer those questions?
No, I said nobody is immune from those questions, especially not
Nobody's
you.
talking about immune. We're talking about what's reasonable to discuss to prove a point.
Yeah, I
You do
think
not need to
it's perfectly
foundationalize every
reasonable.
moral claim ever in
Okay,
order to
why is
guess. You
it
want to know where this went
unreasonable?
last time somebody brought up moral subjectivity versus subjectivity? Where does harm come from? How do you define harm? What is good or evil? Where do you define good
Right,
or evil? Are you
right.
defending humanism, and can you disprove God's existence in order to defend that claim? I'm telling you, it goes fucking nowhere, and you won't talk about this topic for the next 3 hours. The
No,
next
that's your
three
claim, but I'm
hours.
not.
I've
It's
done this so many times, Eli. You saying, well, technically, you're making a moral claim, so you have to debate subjective or subjective morality. So, like, I'm not going to cave to that ever. So you're wasting your breath.
right. That's
Most
because
people
you're a
don't do that in these
closed-minded
debates.
person.
Most people
That's
don't do that in
because
these
you're a
debates for a
closed-minded
reason.
person.
No, because you're
That's because
scared of
you're
the
a
points.
closed-minded person.
You're closed-minded because you're not
No,
listening to my
no,
arguments.
no. You're
We
literally
already
closing
said,
your
you already
mind to the
conceded earlier
objective
that you can
subjective
say
morality
rape is
debate.
bad without having a debate on objective or subjective morality, right?
I'm making the claim that you can't tell me why it's bad.
Do I have to foundationalize my morals to argue that
Yes,
rape is bad?
yes.
Great. So then nobody but religious people can say rape is bad or any negative
No,
moral
you
claims. Like
can. You're
nobody
just
can.
saying it, and then
Well, you're not
you can't.
accepting anybody
No,
else's
no, no, no,
standard.
no, 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 no. Listen to me. Let me
What
finish. Let
non-theistic
me
moral
finish.
standard do you
Let me
accept?
finish. Let me finish.
You're
You
listening.
can.
You're destined to
Let
be
me finish.
unproductive. No, I'm not going to do this with you. What
You're
moral standard
blathering.
have you
You're
ever
blathering. But if
accepted?
you let me finish,
No, I'm not going to let
Cole,
you finish because you're
one
destined to
quick
be
sentence.
unproductive.
One quick sentence.
What?
You.
No, you're going to answer this question and then we can move on. How about that?
Okay.
What moral standard have you ever accepted that wasn't theistic?
Oh, I've been an atheist before.
That wasn't the question. Notice how you can't ever directly respond to a question.
I just said I used to accept a moral standard that wasn't
Used
theistic.
to or currently, as in willing to continue
You
the
said,
discussion.
whenever have I done it? And I said, in the past, I've
Another
done it.
bad faith interpretation of my claim. Great, great, great. I think you can clearly imply,
So
or
now can I
hear
ask
the
you a
implication
question?
of what I'm saying, that what can continue to this point, because you will never accept any moral framework that isn't theistic or objective in your standard.
No,
So
I'm
you
just,
will
okay, if
never
you let me
continue the
finish, dude.
conversation to this because you will never accept anything that
Dude,
isn't theistic or objective, and we will never get back to that.
dude,
And that's
dude,
why I'm
dude,
saying it's
dude,
unproductive. Can you prove to me that we can get back to this point if I answer this subjective or subjective question? And how many follow
no,
up questions will
but you
there
won't
be?
answer it. And here's, okay, can I speak now? Can I at least say my
Continue
piece
to
now?
run from that very simple question. Go for it.
Can I say my piece now? So I never said that you can't say with your words
Answer what I
that,
said. Stop dodging. Stop
dude,
dodging. Answer what I
stop
said.
talking over me, dude. It's so
No,
bad
because
faith
you're
to talk over
dodging. You're
somebody.
dodging.
It's
You're
bad faith.
dodging. You're
It's bad
dodging.
faith.
You're
I'm addressing
dodging.
a point you made
You're
earlier
being
because you
bad faith
said
by
so
not
much.
addressing it.
I'm
You're
addressing
being
a
bad
point
faith.
you
No,
made
you're not
earlier because
addressing
you
it.
said so much.
No, you're not
You said
addressing
so
it.
many
You're
things.
running, Eli. You're
Yeah,
running from
see,
it. It
this is
was a
what people
very
do when
simple
they're
question.
losing the argument is they
What? No,
continue
you're losing
talking when
because
the
you're
other person's
dodging. Why are
talking.
you dodging
And
so
watch,
hard if
he's
you're not
gonna mute
losing?
me because he can't
Why
contend
are
with
you
what I'm
dodging so
saying.
hard if you're not losing?
No,
That's why I said you're rage baiting, because you keep dodging every question and acting as if I'm the one dodging. You're running from the question. It was very simple. What moral framework would you accept so that we can continue to this discussion? Because you will never continue to this discussion. And you were right now proving my point. So please, I'm asking you for evidence that we will ever get to this discussion if I answer this question and how many follow up
yes,
questions there will be.
yes,
I'm telling
exactly.
you, you
I'm
were
going to answer
running
that.
from that answer.
No, I'm going to answer it right now. I'm going to answer it
Great.
right now. So here's what I wanted to say, and this answers your question: is that you can say that grape is wrong. However, I'm positing that when someone like you with no moral foundation does so,
I challenge anyone in the comments to explain to me how that answered the question at all. Because that was literally just a repetition of his initial point over and over again. He never answered any questions I was asking. And I'm not wasting my time in a moral subjectivity versus objectivity argument when I already substantiated that we can have moral debates without bringing that up. Because you will never accept any non objective morality to be able to debate on. You will never do that because you're a moral objectivity person. I've dealt with your type before. You're not fooling me. You're not going to get one over on me. Sorry. Y'all's fucking script is so repetitive and so predictable. Well, technically, you have to engage in this debate. No, I don't. Fuck you. I'm here to talk about the topic, not moral objectivity versus subjectivity. And if you can't discuss this without having that debate first, because that one never ends, then you never wanted to talk about this in the beginning. Thank you for proving my point, because you gave no pathway to get back here, which is what I asked for 6 times. Thank you for running.
Hello.
Hi,
Uh,
how are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Okay. Okay. This is very odd. I've never like gone live before. For reference, just to give context as to who I am, I'm in California. I go to a
No
private
need. What's
Christian.
your disagreement with the background?
Okay. So sorry. Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree. I actually prefer a middle ground because assuming you are in the States, correct? The United States.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, arguing within a Western ideology.
I'm on the East Coast.
Yes.
A
Okay. Okay.
Western ideology?
Yeah, well, the Western world, like the United States in particular, like I'm thinking of that, in
Sure.
particular for religious freedom, right? So, like for instance, if someone chooses to
I think
be
we have a lot more freedom here than in other countries around
right,
religion.
absolutely. So yeah, so sticking within the United States, let's just stick with that. Um, it's like yeah, freedom of religion, right? Like if one chooses to believe in such religion or one chooses not. In terms of regarding your topic here of stop raising religious children, I would prefer the open door policy, which more of it's like if let's say uh, two excuse me two parents, right, two parents, they raise their children and let's say they are Christian or whatever religion, what have you, right? And they do yes raise their kids with it, but then it's like kind of an open door policy after they kind of develop their
It's not an
kids a little
open
bit.
door. It's already morally loading a belief if you raise them with that belief.
True.
If you were
Yeah.
raised in a religion, especially an Abrahamic one, you know that your beliefs are tied to how you view the world, how you view politics, how you view life and death, how you view existence in itself. It's not just, well, I was taught about a religion growing up. No, you were taught to accept it, and you were taught to believe in it, and you were taught that you're supposed to commit your life to it. That's like it muddies the waters of how they're going to view any religious choice by instilling that as a pretext to how they view religion.
I mean, fair enough, but also like realistically, we can't necessarily, like follow with this idea completely. Like it's just not realistic to happen. I
It
support
is.
your
There's
idea.
plenty. There's plenty of agnostic people who already do it. Atheists, pagan people who do it, who are saying, "Well, I don't need you to believe in the God that I believe in. I don't need you to believe in ghosts that I believe in. I don't need you to believe in demons that I believe in. You can pursue those beliefs on your own. I have my beliefs. You can have yours. If you would like to look at this religious text, sure. But at the point that you do, I'm going to give you some other texts that you can possibly look into. And if you're interested or not interested, feel free to pursue whatever you want." That is what parents who care about religious autonomy of their children will do. It is not a high bar to ask for that. And yes, there's still going to be influence because you're their parent, you're an authority figure, and you have beliefs. That's always going to have an impact. But you should limit, and mitigate that impact by expressing that they can believe what they want and they won't like be unloved, because there's that needs to be clarified within a household where a lot of people do get distanced from their family when they change their beliefs. That is 100% a thing.
Precisely. Yeah. No, I'm actually right with you on that. Where it's like just to reassure, like, hey, I know we're kind of raised in this particular religion or
No,
not
you're
religion.
that's a bad faith hearing of what I said. You're
Uh,
saying, "Oh, well, because you said that at the end, that's the entire argument." No,
okay. Yeah.
that's
Sorry,
what you
I
say.
misinterpreted.
It's a
I'm not.
package.
I'm
It's a
not trying
package
to.
deal.
For reference, I'm not trying to argue against you. I may have just misinterpreted entirely. Um,
Okay.
okay, so I mean, and honestly, like, yeah, I do agree with you there. That's not a crazy thing to make happen. That's not a crazy thing to, let's say, do this for whenever I have my own family. So, I really don't have that much of an argument against it necessarily. Where it's like, hey, reassure to love, reassure to love. Yeah, absolutely. That
All
if
right. Well, I
you're
appreciate you coming up. Is there anything else you disagree on?
No, not really. It's more of just like I just do believe in freedom of religion, right? Where it's like if you believe in such, great. If you don't believe in such, great. We go
Great. Have
on
a good
about
night.
our day.
Thank you for being respectful. I'm just keeping it pushing. Hi. How are you?
Oh, hi, this is Linda. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What's your thoughts on the background?
Um, well, I felt, I raised my children of, what I knew, but of course it's up to them when they're a certain age. And then they go their own way and believe what they want.
Okay, well, let me speak to you as a child of the upbringing you are giving to your children. As a child of that exact upbringing, it felt extremely pressuring to conform to that belief when everyone around you affirms it and has a moral attachment to that belief. And whether you say it or not, the community has a level of ostracization towards people who don't act according to the belief or leave the belief. Two, there are community based events centered around all of you believing in the same thing. So when you leave the belief, you lose a sense of community as well. That is also a real thing that people should be prepared for if they're going to have a different belief. These are things that need to be taken into mind when you're bringing a child who doesn't know the rules of the religion, but you're still implementing them into the structure of the religion by having them believe in it. Because once you believe in it, you are supposed to follow some rules. You are supposed to have some guidelines. You are supposed to live your life a certain way. So you're kind of signing people up for a job that they didn't really understand the rubric of. And I think that it's not moral to do so when they don't have the conscious like capability to understand the rules of what they're signing up for. So I would have liked the consideration of knowing what rules I'm going to be following before I'm introduced into a belief system that is telling me how to live my life. I don't think that's right to do. And I think that, of course, all parents are going to have like some rules, but I think that when it's tying it to your faith, when it comes to the spiritual, God's existing, I think that is like stepping over a line severely. And I think that is something that people don't consider when it comes to upbringing.
Well, honestly, I was Catholic when I brought up my children, but then I became a Christian because I found out about salvation when I was older. So I switched what I was. My one son is atheist because he believes in science. And my one daughter, she became Christian and gave up Catholic when she was already married with her little children, because she realized you do need salvation and the Catholic Church was teaching wrong,
Do you
because
care about them having free expression of their beliefs?
I feel they should believe whatever they feel. I mean, I raised them Catholic. Then I like I said, then I was, trying to tell them about Christianity, a non-denomination.
But why not
And
teach it in a more objective way rather than morally loading it by raising them to like literally believe and engage in a faith that is
well
extremely
that's
influential over belief?
well that's what I knew. But honestly, we're all different. My daughter and I are Christians. My one son's atheist and the other son is Catholic.
I mean, yeah, I'm atheist. My parents were Christian. It didn't save me from the amount of manipulation that the church instills on following a faith. That's why 85% of American Christians were raised that way. We know there's a statistical impact on adult religiosity from childhood upbringing. So you can say, well, you see the religion differently, but there's a psychological stickiness to faith when it comes to upbringing that can't just be erased because some people change their mind.
Well, let's put it this way. I figured you were atheist because I can tell by the way you speak. You know,
Logically, yes.
yeah, I knew you were. But anybody could be what they want. But of course, when you're raising children, I mean, if they said when they were young, even younger, well, they want to follow something else, then they can.
But I
That's
feel like
up
that
to
ignores what
them.
I said, that there were extreme pressures to conform to the faith. So they don't always feel like they can speak up about that or that they would want to out of fear of certain negative impacts in their life due to the
No,
installation of that religion, right? Fear of hell,
no, it's
fear of
not true.
condemnation, fear of ostracization. Those are all real things that are instilled in people raised in the faith that have community based on belief.
I don't know any. If I didn't know other religions, how could I show them that? It's what if
Well,
they don't want to believe or read the Bible, I wouldn't force my children.
Yeah, we're not arguing force. We're arguing the fact that you're raising them in it in the first place. You're not asking an infant their permission before bringing them to church. It's just known that they're going to be like believing and practicing the religion, and then maybe they'll change their mind when they're older. That doesn't erase the amount of influence that has.
Well, they all did change their mind. Even I did.
Cool. It still had an extremely like heavy impact on their view of the world in general. I'm not saying it's an
No, it didn't.
100% instance, but there's an extreme statistical impact of raising children religious. And you
It
can't
didn't
erase
have
that
an
by saying, well,
impact.
people in my family changed their mind. You are
It
one
didn't have
family.
an impact because
It
if
had no
I
impact.
raised,
Over half of your family is Christian. It had no impact.
no, they're not Christian, just my daughter.
Your
My,
daughter is the only one in your house that's Christian.
yes, and she just became Christian a few years ago. She's 36.
Okay, cool. Well, then
My
you might
son,
be raising your kids to have a lot of free thinking about that, and you might have like less community building where there would be more pressures for that. I'm not saying like you're arguing instances, and I'm arguing stats. Instances don't override stats. That's like the whole point of stats is to like not just rely on every person's opinion of something.
they could be whatever they want.
That's platitudes. It's not arguing against stats. It's not arguing
But
against what I'm
the thing
arguing.
is, if when I was young, being raised, I don't know another way. So of
Well, I'm
course,
providing another way. I'm making a moral claim that the other way is to give more freedom and allow them to pursue religion on their own. And you can give resources if they ask for them. But at the time that they're giving resources for your
I
religion, you can give resources towards other religions so they can pursue or not
no,
pursue what they want.
I can't give them other resources.
Why
I
not?
don't because I don't follow them or read them. I don't know them.
I'm atheist. I can give my child a Bible if they want to look into the religion. Is that bad for me to do because I don't follow it?
Well, what am I going to give them if about atheists? There is no Bible for that.
There's literature. You can give literature. You can give online like
I
links
didn't
to
have
articles
online.
or studies or anything about
I
other
didn't
people's
have
beliefs.
any of that.
Well, I had a basic education in public school about people having different beliefs. Oh, this is what Buddhists believe. Some people believe in reincarnation. Some people believe in this or that. There's certain basic education about different beliefs that you can provide as a resource to so they know that they can actually believe
Well,
what they want with limited pressure.
I'm sure they learned it in public school. So whatever they were taught, I'm not the teacher.
You are the teacher. You're teaching them religion and you're telling them to follow it. And if they change their mind later, then you're
I
not
didn't
going to
tell them to
stop them from
follow
following.
it.
Raising them in religion is telling them to follow it. God exists. You should seek salvation is telling them to follow it. How is that not telling them to follow it?
We didn't know about salvation then. The Catholic Church didn't preach that.
You didn't tell your children to pray. You didn't tell them to sing, like read scripture. You didn't tell them to sing hymns. You didn't do any of that.
No, of course not. Why would I tell them to
How
sing?
were they raised religious then?
If
Were
they
they
were,
just existing in an environment around church?
if we were in church, if you want to sing, you sing. If you don't want to sing, you don't
Okay, so
sing.
you didn't tell them to believe. You just brought them to an institution that tells them to believe.
Well, they're the ones that are teaching you about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still influential. So whether you say specifically you need to pray or something, you're going to an institution where everyone like pretty much bows their heads and pray,
I wouldn't tell
listen to scripture.
somebody they need to pray.
I didn't say you
No.
said that. I said the church is telling people to do so. They're not saying, everybody get your fucking handcuffs and read the scripture. They're saying, oh, well,
First
this
of
is
all, they
true.
don't curse, number one.
I know. That's why I said that's what they wouldn't say.
You need God, let me tell you.
How are you not trying to convince me to convert to your
I
religion?
wouldn't
Do you not
convince
care about my
you.
religious free thinking? You just said you weren't trying to pressure people to believe what you believe.
But the way you act, you need something in your life that you're very bitter.
Because I cursed and I disagree with
You're
you? What
very
did I say that was
bitter.
immoral?
You are very bitter.
Bitter?
Yeah, you are.
I'm bitter about a lot of things. On this,
I.
I'm just right.
You're right. You're
Yes,
an
I've made a.
ass. Goodbye.
Well, no cursing.
An
You should
ass is not
repent.
a curse.
You should repent. That's 5 Hail Marys, babe. God didn't like that, Linda. Tisk, tisk. Ass might not be a curse where you grew up, but it is a curse. Maybe not a biblical one. All right. Only request of your opposition, by the way.
Ooh,
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. Why do you disagree with the background?
I disagree with you to a very small extent. So now I think that there are certain religious practices that can come into culture that I think now I wasn't raised religious at all. My dad was an atheist, a bit of a pantheist and studied Buddhism philosophy. And my mother has kind of jumped from like religion to religion. However, the point I was going to make is that as a child, I learned about things like divination, which would fall into like pagan practices and things like that, which would fall under a religion. And I, I feel like that was never like harmful or anything, simply because like my mother's side of the family is Romani Gypsy, and in the Romani Gypsy culture and things like that, we're kind of known for like divination, like is a bit like fortune telling, people would call it. Like we have ties to that, and
I
I
mean, I
feel
can
like
argue that it's a lot less harmful, but it's still influential towards faith, right? They're much less likely to be
oh yeah,
atheist or Christian if you're selling them a worldview about like witchcraft or spirituality or paganism.
oh
It's
yeah, yeah,
influencing their
yeah.
beliefs from a young age. And I'm just saying you should minimize the amount of influence you have over people's like beliefs. Like I think that it's minimally harmful if you're teaching about divination at a younger age because a lot of people just it a lot of people don't take it too seriously. I'm sorry to say that, but
No,
like
no, no. I get it. I get it.
a lot of people view it like looking at the stars, and they view it in a very aesthetic way. And they're just like,
Mm.
oh, you pulled out the Ouija board, but like, I don't even believe in ghosts, like that kind of way. It's like,
Yeah,
and
no.
I think it's minimally harmful in that way, but I still think you shouldn't try to convince them that it is like 100% accurate and they should believe it. Because I feel like that's
Yeah.
what religious upbringing is. And that's like different than just teaching certain things. Because I feel like at a young age, your kid is going to be exposed to prayer. And you can say, like, oh, well, some people believe in like a higher power or something. And then if they're asking questions about that, you can just give them some resources on some religions and they can look into it. I feel like that's like the extent of what it should be.
Yeah. I mean, to discuss like kind of how I was raised, like a tiny bit, like my dad and my mother always made sure, like I was never baptized or anything, even though people wanted me to get, well, not baptized, christened. I was never christened as a baby or anything. I was never like, when I asked about religions and stuff, like for example, my dad was a practicing Buddhist for a long time, and he used to sit and he used to do Buddhist chants and things and meditate and hold or the meditation beads. I forget what they're called now, and I used to do it with
Prayer
him
beads?
because, huh?
Prayer beads?
Prayer beads, yeah. Buddhist ones specifically, though. I'm not talking about like rosary, like because obviously that's Catholicism and stuff. But like, I would sit with him and I would do it anyway. I mean, it's probably because we were both stimming. We're both diagnosed autistic, funnily enough. We're probably just both stimming, but you get what I'm saying? Like, you know, I did take part in that. My mum was Muslim for a while, so I went to mosque with my mother to kind of delve into it. I went to a Christian school, I went to a Catholic school, because that's the majority of schools in the UK are Church of England. You know, so I was exposed to a lot of different religion as a child, and my dad always said, like, you know, whatever you want to believe, you want to believe. But I don't see, the thing is, I don't think you should be raising your children like, and I'm probably not in opposition to you at all at this point, but I don't think you should be raising your children like strictly Mormon or something like that, or like strictly Muslim, or
Well, the
strictly
thing is,
to
I
one
recognize that
religion.
most people don't have an issue with religious upbringing as long as it's nice or palatable. That's typically the public take. Mine just takes it a little bit of a step further and say you should limit the amount of influence of your religion on children, because I knew what it was like growing up having my worldview manipulated through a
Oh yeah.
religious lens that I had little control over as a child. And the church definitely tells you how to view life, death, the afterlife, and any possibility of atheism being like an outcome. And I knew that it was extremely influential, and change in belief was not very societally acceptable.
I mean, to be fair, like, because I mean, but this is the thing, is that I will always advocate for kind of, now look, if you want to share religion with your children and educate your children on different religions, absolutely go ahead. For me personally,
I
like, for
disagree.
example, no, I mean, because I used to watch my mother do tarot cards and spirit writing and things like that, and you know, she was sharing that with me for me to witness. I didn't have to take part in it. She wasn't really teaching me as such about it, but I'd just sit and watch her do it, and she'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm just doing this because, you know, it's
I mean,
kind of
yeah,
like
but that's
in
the
our
whole public
culture and
preaching.
stuff."
That's the public preaching argument. Well, I'm not pressuring you to believe. I'm just sharing the good word. We know it has an impact.
I mean, see, the thing is, though, is that I have turned out ultimately. Look, I've delved into a lot of different religions, and ultimately, I mean, I'm 18 now. I turned 18 back in December, early December.
And I was raised with
And
Christians, and I turned atheist when I was 14. Nobody's saying nobody can break out. Nobody can
oh
change their
yeah, 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 no,
mind.
no, no.
We're just
I'm
arguing
just
that
saying.
statistically there's an extreme impact in society.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just saying now, like, I turned out to be a pagan theist. Like, I believe in a theistic God, you know, but I'm not gonna say that that's Yahweh or that's Allah. I'm not gonna say that's any of that, because I personally don't think that anyone knows God, you know. And I turned out that way, but I don't feel like that was because my mother showed me tarot cards as a kid. I think that's because I've seen every single religion there is at this rate. Well, obviously not. There's about 3 million of them. But point being, like, I don't know. I don't think it's inherently harmful, especially if it's tied to one's culture. But I do think that, you know, you should allow your children
Do you
to make
think
their own
culture should be?
decisions.
Do you think culture should be pressured too? Oh, we got a lot of
Culture?
trolls
No,
today.
I'm not saying anything should be pressured. I'm saying that, like, if you're sharing like culture with your children, or if you're sharing like
Yeah, but
religion
it's
with
like
your
I draw the line
children.
at faith. That's what I'm saying. So even in tarot cards, I think it's a lot less harmful, but there's still influence there. And I'm just trying to make an argument of, oh, influence when it comes to religiosity goes against my moral claim of maximizing religious autonomy in a society, because we know raising kids in religion, whether you think it's less harmful or nice or not, it has an impact on adult religiosity statistically. So it kind of takes away the whole point of allowing people to believe what they want to believe if you still have an extreme impact over what people are going to believe through religious upbringing. So you saying like, well, I changed my mind, so it can't be that bad, and me
No,
saying like,
I'm not
well, I
claiming
changed my
that.
mind, so it's still bad. It's like, but you were like, why else would you bring up your
No,
point of you changing your beliefs?
I'm not making a claim there. I'm literally just having a bit of
But
a
you're saying
discussion.
the methodology in which I was raised with certain theistic beliefs didn't make me theistic. I'm doing that of my own accord. Said
No,
every
I was
Christian
never
about their
raised with
Christian beliefs
theistic
ever, though.
beliefs. I was never raised with theistic beliefs at all.
Well,
Never.
spiritual beliefs.
My mother was Muslim for like a brief period in time, and like read like the Quran like once, and it was like probably like 2 pages. Like,
Well,
that's the
did she believe
closest
that
I
there was
got
a
to
heaven?
theism.
Your audio is glitching like crazy. But also, why would you be raised in tarot cards if there was no spiritual aspect to it?
Oh no, I didn't say. I said there was no theism. I didn't say there was no spirituality. I said there was no theism.
Well, that's why I clarified spirituality. You still had an issue with it for some
So
reason.
you're glitching out really bad. I don't know who it is.
You really are. My audio is the issue.
Yeah.
Y'all just censor in the chat, otherwise you're gonna get muted.
I can drop it if you want, but thank you so much for having me up, though.
Alright, I appreciate being respectful. You have to get some rocks. Is it okay now? It was her audio was glitching for me. Is it okay? I think it's my Wi-Fi. I tried resetting the router, but it's still, the lights were still blinking. Why are people talking about Kirk in the comments? We're not talking about Kirk. Hold on, I need a drink. Hi.
Hello.
I was not eyeing you in the comments because you weren't providing any substantiation. You were just saying you did bad.
You can't put up a good argument. Well, with the first person, maybe not the first person, but the person who's a mom, you couldn't put up a good argument against someone who wasn't putting up an argument because you had nothing to argue against.
I mean, that's what I was trying to explain to her, that I'm providing arguments, and what she's saying isn't really contesting that. So I was just trying to get her to the point of like, well, I'm just talking about stats, not specific instances. I'm talking about stats. I'm talking about society, not just your household. I guess I should have referenced her household less about the influence it had and just stayed societally. But like, there's only so much you can do with somebody who like is already going into that destined to not engage in the topic that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that we're critically thinking, but most people that are older just gave up on that.
I mean, yeah, and I think religious upbringing kind of had a play in that, don't you think? Being told not really to think that much about it.
So I don't think you should blindly trust anything, but also I am a Christian. If I believe that, I don't know, for example, my loved ones aren't saved, I want them to be saved, right?
Okay, we draw lines when it comes to religion all the time. You can say it's my personal belief, but if it's somebody's personal conviction that we should lower the age of consent, are you going to say, oh, yeah, you're entitled to do that? No. If somebody says, oh, well, it's my religious belief that child marriage is okay, are you going to say that's automatically okay? No, I'm just making an argument separate from religiosity of a moral stance that we should hold based on harm reduction. A lot of people in religion, even if they say, well, it's my moral obligation to raise them in the faith, they still also say, oh, well, they can change their mind when they're older. Oh, well, I'm not forcing them to believe. So they care about religious autonomy to an extent. They just don't apply it equally to my standard.
I strongly wouldn't want my future children to change their religion.
Do you care about their freedom to be able to, though?
Yeah, but
wouldn't you want to maximize their ability to, even if you want them to believe what you believe?
I wouldn't feed them any information that leads them to utter atheism or any other religion.
So you don't care about maximizing their religious autonomy or giving them more free thinking around religion by having an extreme amount of influence over what they're going to believe as an adult through religious upbringing?
To answer that, I would only give them, information about being Christian. And if they decide they don't want to... Yeah, I don't care too much. I only want my children to be saved.
I'm sorry. I don't think you should have kids if you're not okay with your kid having different beliefs than you.
Well, I'm fine.
It doesn't sound like you're okay with that.
I would just only push them towards Christianity.
But then you don't care that much about them having free thinking about this. You just don't give a shit.
Yeah, but you have the ability to think. The internet is out there.
Sure, and everybody can leave a cult if they just have strong fortitude. Like, pretty words. It doesn't mean anything when we're talking about manipulative beliefs being instilled at young ages.
I don't think it's manipulative.
The methodology is you're going to an institution to cry together and affirm a faith and build community based on that God being real. Sorry, that's manipulative.
I don't view it that way.
Sure. Even if the intent isn't that way, that's the outcome. The outcome is that it has an extreme influence over adult religiosity because of these impacts of community building based on a belief, the fact that these are implemented as truth from a parental figure to a child from a young age, and also because there's an expectation that you're supposed to follow this your entire life. Those are three things that extremely show the amount of impact that this can have on adult religiosity. And if there's stats to back up that Abrahamic faiths specifically are called sticky religions, because psychologically, even if they change their beliefs, they're so likely to go to another Abrahamic faith that is laughable to say that people have like this element of free thinking emphasized under any Abrahamic faith.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that point of view. I know Catholicism can be extreme. Islam is pretty extreme. But I guess I don't have much of an argument against that.
I mean, I feel like if you're not able to consider the importance of free thinking around religion, which I'm sure you would want for yourself if you were raised in a Muslim household, you would value your free thinking around religiosity and would want it minimized, but that's only because you believe what you believe currently. I just feel like that comes down to religious ego.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I did choose Christianity.
I mean, you can say that. How much did your upbringing have an impact on that? Like, there's so many people whose impact of their current beliefs are because of their parents.
I went to church for like a year and a half when I was like really young, like probably below 10 years old. And then until I was 18, I didn't go at all.
Cool. So I would say that have less impact, and you can come to the conclusions of your own accord majoritively. If you had minimal religious influence, then that wouldn't apply to what I'm talking about. I would say being raised in a religion typically is more about engagement in the faith through childhood, which isn't just going for a month and a half.
I do think, this is one thing I will say, you shouldn't shove religion down your kids' throats when they're like younger than, I'm going to say the line is about 12. I think that is an issue.
How can you raise a kid within religion without shoving it down their throat? Like, I'm sorry, it's kind of implied in raising them religious. Like, they're going to pray, they're going to engage in it, they're going to practice reading scripture and learning about the entire faith, but that's not shoving it down their throat. Like,
well, like, I actually chose to go to church with my parents. If I didn't want to go, I could have stayed home. So
right. A lot of people aren't given that. I would say 99% of people aren't given that option. 99% of people are brought to church before they can even vocalize that they don't want to go.
What I'm saying is I would ask my kids if they want to go to church when they're, I'd say the point where I started learning about it was like 16. So when they're 16, I might start talking to them about it.
Well, I think 16 is already well over my threshold of people having the ability to critically think about religion. I would say 8 to 12 is probably typically where people are having some of these interests brought up about mortality, because usually when they're younger, they don't really give a shit. They're talking about colors and pretty lights on a screen. Like, that's usually what kids fucking care about. But like when they're starting to ask those questions, I just think like if you're going to introduce your religion, introduce some other ones so they can have some options, so that even if you have that bias as a parent to want them to believe in this, they can at least have the toolbox there to make other decisions. Because it feels like a lot of parents don't want their kids to have the toolbox because they're scared of them making other choices, in which you do want to have an extreme amount of control over their beliefs around faith, and you do care if they change their mind, which I think is like a bad mindset to have as a parent, because they're not carbon copies. They're their own people who can make their own choices.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. There's a few religions I really wouldn't want my kids to be, though. So
me too. Duh. I think there's a threshold of harm for sure.
For example, like, even though the Old Testament of the Bible had some horrific things, the Quran had much more things, and it was like how to treat your wife, how to treat your kids, blah, blah, blah. And
okay, cool, but you're saying that to an atheist who would say that all of religion has like a lot of harmful shit in it. So like, I'm sorry, you're not going to convince me that like, oh, because mine is less harmful than another religion, you should be totally fine with me influencing my children into this religion. Like, it's not going to convince me.
Do you plan on having kids eventually?
No.
Or adopting kids, rather?
No. I don't have patience for that shit. Are you kidding? I don't even have room in my apartment for a dog.
Do you plan on living in your apartment forever?
Depends on the economy and how lazy I am. Okay,
at least you added the lazy part, because
yeah, for sure. Least you know I can admit that I'm lazy. I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're honest. I mean, one problem I had was on a lot of political lives. I was too honest with the amount of research I've done, and then they just started attacking my character.
Butter, censor yourself. Can't say that word in chat.
Oh, I don't even see chat. They were like, you haven't done 100 hours of research? I was like, sorry, I have a job, you know?
Yeah. Anyways, if you don't care that much about maximizing religious autonomy, then I don't think we're going to agree. But I think most people, when they're talking about religious upbringing, they like to not seem like a controlling parent or like super abusive in the sense of, well, you have to believe in this. So they like to emphasize, oh, well, they can change their mind when they're older. And those are the people I'm usually pleading to, because they don't really they don't have a lot of consideration for the amount of influence that raising a kid religious has on adult religiosity. And they think that like, oh, well, some people change their minds, so that means that the influence is minimal. It's just like...
Part of it is, too, people perceive religions differently. So like, like what, 100 years ago, people perceived religion as we can do whatever we want to these certain people. Because they used the Bible as a justifier. But that was just a bad perception.
That has never changed.
Yeah, so I guess I would change how they perceive their religion, because a lot of people perceive it a certain way.
Yeah, but that's just like, oh, but I want people to be like religious manipulators, but like in a nice way. That's how I view that.
Well, here's my thing. I view Christianity as like there's moral standards. Yes, there is praying and spirituality, but I think it's more of a way of living life. And that's why I don't see it as damaging.
I don't think you should prescribe that for people.
I don't know. I mean, Christianity made me more generous, more happy, more kind. I think that's like, even if I am wrong and my God is
Congrats
fake,
to a lot of people, it made them more misogynistic, more racist, more hateful. Like,
and that's
it doesn't
totally an
prove.
issue. That's a bad perception of the thing. That has more
No,
to
it's
do
an
with that than
actuality
religion.
of the thing. People literally use the Bible to justify slavery.
Yeah,
Whether you
that's,
think it's accurate or not, whether they're like true Christians or not, you can't argue that people didn't use it to justify Western
and
expansion,
that's totally wrong.
crusades, like starting wars. Like religion has been an instigator for so much violence in history. We're not going to act like, oh well, I interpret it in a really nice like way, like loving your neighbor and stuff. So like you should like not care that I'm manipulating my child into this belief.
You also realize, though, the people doing that probably didn't really believe that, you know? Like, if
Sure,
people
I think the same about majority of people today. There are lukewarm religious people all over the place. What amount of people follow 100% of scripture? They can't
No.
even agree what's metaphorical and what's literal.
Oh, yeah, that is one issue. It's just the perception.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
there's a million denominations. So you're going to say like, oh, well, they're not true Christians. I'm like, okay, well, Christians don't see each other as true Christians. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care.
That's what I find so crazy, because, like, the main thing of Christianity is to not judge other people, because God's our only judge.
Yeah, I
they
think that a
decide
lot of
who's
people
saved and
miss
who's not
the
saved.
obvious like implications of the text. But I think that if you argue that people are entitled to their interpretations, you excuse a lot of harm in the way people bad faith interpret the text.
Yeah, I think the interpretation is damaging, but also the Catholic Church is to blame for that.
Yeah,
They
they're
will
also
publish
blamed for a lot of
transfers
kid touching. So
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why I couldn't be Catholic. Too much corruption. It sounds like we'd like mostly agree, but
is Catholic a belief or just the institution?
it's both.
Well, then you can be
But
Catholic without it supporting the institution, right? Just like you can believe in Black Lives Matter without
well,
supporting the
you
institution,
can be Catholic,
right?
but the problem is the Catholic thing. It's like I was talking to someone. He was one of those TikTok live debaters that said like, if you're not Catholic, then you are not saved. And he said, if you want to be, because I told him that I was 18 because I am. He said, if you want to be Catholic, you have to take these Catholic courses and get baptized after this. You have to tell the church you want to be Catholic. And he had these like rule sets. It said none of that in the Bible. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah, you're telling me religious people are bad faith sometimes? Fork founding kitchen.
I don't know if that guy was acting in bad faith, but yeah, he was wrong. But yeah, no, I mean,
I think people only get to that mindset from ego stroking, which is like
I just got all the shots
inherently
at
bad
once.
faith and to some extent. But yeah, thanks for coming up. I think we've gotten to the end of where we can't argue. I appreciate you being respectful.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was great. I think you have a good future. All right, have a good one.
I don't. I'm a fat gay alcoholic, bitch. No. I'm too realistic for that. Next. It's shit people never want to talk about in good faith. I've never seen another person talk about this in realistic, like, in the way that I argue it. I've never seen somebody with my stance on this. People will agree with me if I lay out my stance, like, in, like, great detail. There will be, like, a lot of pagan or atheist or agnostic people who agree with my stance, but nobody fucking argues it like this. Nobody argues about religious autonomy or about the fact that religious upbringing as a widespread practice worldwide heavily influences adult religiosity and limits free thinking around religion. People never think about that shit. They never think about it on a wide scale. Nobody fucking talks about it. People talk about religious nationalism. People talk about people being bad faith with religion. People talk about being not true religious people, but they don't talk about the overwhelming widespread effect of religious upbringing on adult religiosity. They don't fucking talk about it. There's some psychological studies on it, but it's not a widespread discussion at all. I haven't run into a single other person who argues this. People hand wave it as, oh, well, as long as your parents are being nice about it, it's okay to influence your child's religiosity through their formative years about how they view the world. That's so manipulative. It's so manipulative. People downplay it so much because they only see like parents who were taking their kids to exorcism as like the bad religious people, and everything else is cool and chill, and you can't question it at all. It's just like people use religious respect as a shield to do anything. In the same way people use parental rights as a shield to do anything. They use it as a shield to beat their kids, to pressure them into career fields. And like, don't tell me how to parent my kid. I think that's what's best for them. It's just like, people think they have shields on every aspect of their life. Sorry, most things are fucking criticizable. If it's illogical, it's criticizable. Real logic should be criticized. Obviously, there's an extent to where you're a fucking asshole about it, but I think having the discussion, most cases, for things that are harmful or should be updated in society or considered in society are healthy. And I just like, even in liberal or left-leaning spaces, this is such a rare fucking take to hear. Parents have a responsibility to raise kids properly. And the thing is, when you mix faith in there, they think that the only way to raise their kids properly is with faith, in which you're just like, how are you supposed to convince them otherwise? Tell them to stop believing in God? But then it's just like, cool, your kid might not believe in God or want to. Do you care about that? If you care about that, you shouldn't want to instill in them that they should want to believe in God their entire childhood and then they'll be cool with it. It's just like, that's so manipulative. Do you not care about how much you're manipulating your child on this topic? If you think it's for their own good, then you can justify a shit ton of manipulation. Oh, you got me. Like I've never seen a dick before. Do you know how gay I am? For real inference, for real.
That was quick. Can you give me 2 minutes? Is that okay?
Is that all it takes for you?
What do you mean? I'm just going to be available in 2 minutes. Is that okay? Just
back in request. We'll see how the next request goes. I'm not waiting 2 full minutes. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing phenomenal. How are you?
Good. What's your thoughts on the background?
Well, I don't think lying to someone to benefit them, I don't think is wrong. I don't think it's a bad thing.
I mean, if your presupposition is my religion right, everyone else is wrong, every religious person says that, doesn't make them right.
I mean, I'm not 100% certain, right? I'm not 100%
based on faith.
certain that
you think
God
that
is
faith
real.
should be instilled
However,
in society or the household?
if it makes someone feel better, then
how do you know it's going to make them feel better? You're just convincing them that it's going to make them feel better because you're telling them to feel better about it.
That they're being watched over, taken care of, that loved ones are watching them. What's wrong with that?
Cool. A lot of people have a fear of hell, too. A lot of people have a fear of the afterlife without believing 100%. A lot of people have anxiety around death because of that, specifically.
Cool. So then I won't tell them about hell.
Okay, cool. So then
what's the problem?
You'll water down your religion only to a comfortable level to where you're teaching it, but you're not really teaching it in the right way because you want them to feel comfortable. Like, that's just like, why teach it at all then?
To tell them that their loved ones are watching after them and taking care of them is not a bad thing.
Cool. And I can tell my kid that their dog that died went to a farm in like the sky.
Right.
And it could be a nice thing.
That's not wrong.
The whole point is that I'm not telling them to live their life according to that belief.
Right, but you're saying
rules
that
and guidelines
that's
as
wrong.
to how to live your life when it comes to religion, and those are extreme expectations that should not be pressured on children if you truly care about them being able to change their mind when they're older.
So then why tell your kids that the dog's going to the farm?
To make them feel better. Do they live their life according to that? Or do they grow up and understand that it's a temporary belief, unlike religion?
Of course.
So it's not the same.
But if it genuinely makes people feel better, what's the harm?
The harm is that they're expected to live their life according to it. I just differentiated it. I just told you.
They're better off with this religion, and you have a problem with that? If someone's bettering their life,
you're just presupposing they're better off.
Religion,
you don't know that.
What's the problem?
Some people find comfort in it. Some people don't. Some people are uncomfortable with feeling pressured
to
stay in a religion. Some people wouldn't want to and care about their religious autonomy of not being pressured into it.
If it helps them improve their life, how is it wrong?
It doesn't always do that. Like
but it does.
You have a very rose-glass view of religion. I hate to break it to you.
That it does help.
Looking at it with rose glasses on. You gotta take those off.
So why exactly is it wrong? If it does help people, then why exactly should I not?
Pressured faith is bad. I'm making a moral claim that you should not pressure people to believe in a specific faith because religious autonomy should be protected.
Gotcha. Even if it does help, let's say 50% of the people improve their life. Yes, if you tell somebody to
believe in aliens because it makes their anxiety go away for 2 hours, doesn't mean that it's justifiable.
If it makes the anxiety go away, then yes, of course, I'll say that.
Any means necessary. They believe in fairies. They believe in Scientology.
If it makes them feel better
for 2 hours, where's your line on this? What if it makes them feel better?
Right? And it genuinely improves their life? What's I don't really understand.
Genuinely improves their life. Not everybody's fucking life was improved by religion. Hate to break it to you.
Okay, but for the people that it does help, is that a problem?
How are you assuming that it's going to help? That's the only way you justify doing it in every instance.
Many people.
Many people. So you can assume that every person's going to have a good reaction to it. How many people do you think,
in one church that have turned their life around because
every time I respond to you? It's crazy. Go ahead. Let me know when you're done.
No, I'm asking you a question. How many people do you think have turned their life around because of religion? No, I'm not even talking about just...
Plenty of people were also unjustifiably pressured into the faith. Like with AA, when it comes to therapy, people who are prescribed God to get over their addiction or anything, that is extremely manipulative and taking advantage of people when they're at their lowest to boost your fucking religious numbers and to boost your fucking religious ego. That is extremely manipulative.
No, it's the opposite of ego.
No,
if you're making someone feel better
getting some fucking
by lying to them, that's the opposite of my ego. That's the opposite. I want what's best for them.
That's like saying people don't donate for their ego. Let's be real.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying.
That's why people are pressuring people to follow faith, and they want to bring them to the church and be like, I did something so
sure,
good today.
Some, yeah, but not all.
Most,
not all.
I think it is rare that people are not acting on religious ego when they're doing.
How many people have you tried to force you to be religious?
Extremely pressured or forced? I'm not arguing forced.
Sure, extremely pressured.
Thousands. Like literally everyone in my upbringing. When it came to my parents taking me to church, religious camp. When it came to people in religious camp telling everybody to bow their head, and then I got a standing ovation for giving my life to Christ at that camp. The fact that you want to cry every time you sing religious songs because they literally
it makes people feel better
with that intention in mind.
Because it helps.
Like there's so many manipulative tactics, whether you're building community based on your beliefs and that you're going to youth group to literally affirm that belief as a community and build friendships based on believing in God together. It's like, it's so insane how many tactics
are you against building
within
a
religion
community?
To manipulate people into the belief and to stay there.
Why are you against building a community? What's wrong with that?
My arguments are falling on deaf ears. You're being bad faith.
Right.
Where did I say it was bad to build community? Right. Do you think that going to a book club is bad? Do you think I think that going to a club at school is bad?
No.
Duh. Stop being bad faith.
Of course not. No, not at all.
Then can you steel man my argument a little bit?
No, I'm wondering why you're doing a whataboutism. Can you respond to the question?
It's not a whataboutism. It's proving that I'm not against community. A claim you made.
Before that, what did I say?
I'm responding to your claim that I'm against community. Can you steel man my position?
No. What did I say before community? What did I say?
You were talking through my statement. I was trying to finish my statement.
I wasn't talking through you. I asked you a question and then you pivoted to something else. What was that question?
How many people in your life made you feel pressured to believe?
Perfect. And you said how many? You said thousands.
I said thousands.
Cool. For the other people in that church, that it helped and genuinely improved their life. You're saying that that's wrong?
They were also pressured. I'm arguing pressuring people into a belief is bad. It goes against religious autonomy, and it overrides your free thinking about spiritual faith, which I think should not be limited.
Sure. I think you should go to it at your own. Sure. But why is it wrong for me to tell you?
You're not going to it at your own if you're raising a child in religion. You're not going to it of your own.
Why don't you try to do it as well?
You're not going to it of your own if you're raised in religion. That's so not the case.
You are so against me saying, hey, so it's improved my life exponentially. Do you want to try it? Why are you so against that?
I'm not. You're just being so bad faith. It's crazy. I'm not going to engage in your bad faith.
If you say so, man. Look, I'll take your word for it.
I'm not going to engage in your bad faith attempts to twist what I'm saying.
Well,
you said I was against
what you're saying is true,
and then I was against recommendation of religion. Really? That's your interpretation? That's your steel man? Grow up.
Gotcha. Well,
you're just being bad faith.
If I am wrong,
I'm not engaging in your bad faith attempts.
If I am wrong, I apologize. God forgive me. I apologize.
Repent more, because you're clearly doing it intentionally.
My apologies.
What's wrong with building community? You didn't respond to the fact that I refuted that, by the way. You just lied.
Okay, maybe because I was still thinking about the question that I asked.
No, because you were triggered.
And you didn't respond to it.
Because you were fucking triggered about it. That's why you give a bad faith interpretation of what I was saying. You said, it's like when somebody says, oh, maybe you can respect my boundaries. And they're just like, what's wrong with me giving you advice? It's just like, it's not about the advice. It's about the way you do it.
Is that what I've been doing this whole time? I'm sorry, is that what I've been doing?
Yes, that's how you've been acting in this conversation. Very bad faith.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Hey, if you feel pressured, I'm sorry. I will do better.
You shouldn't apologize for my feelings. You should apologize for your actions. That's called a bad apology.
I apologize to you, and I will pray to God to do better.
Oh, great. How does that help me? Five Hail Marys. I told y'all, I'm not engaging in bad faith interpretations of what I'm saying. Fuck that. I'm not being your little bitch. If you have to water down my argument of limiting religious freedom when it comes to what you could possibly believe or your ability to leave a belief to what's wrong with community, you weren't listening in the first place. You were listening to respond, and you're trying to twist anything to demonize the opposition. If you thought that was good faith responses to my arguments, you might be too far gone. Dead ass. There's no way. Banjo, you literally put a dick in the comments. Why would I ever accept your request? Here's my argument. Here's where I'm gonna debunk you. Penis. Go back to fucking Twitter with that shit. I don't care. Stay muted, cuck. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. What's your thoughts on the background?
Well, I kind of joined in late on the previous guy you were talking about, but you were mentioning a lot about saying forcing faith on kids. But that kind of, that's, it says
I specifically clarified I wasn't saying force.
Okay.
I clarified I was mentioning pressure, which is heavily enforced in religious upbringing.
Okay. Well, to me, when it comes to at least how I grew up, because I'm cradle Catholic, to me it was never forced, and from my experiences.
Yeah, I wasn't tied down to a gurney and read scripture either. It was still heavily pressured, and it still influenced me to believe in my youth, and heavily influenced my worldview until I left the religion, majoritively because of my predisposition to atheism or free thinking.
Right. Well, did you ever express that to your parents or whoever that raised you?
Not until far after I left the house, because I knew that it would be awkward as fuck going to dinner. I still go back and pray and hold hands with them because that's still just something they do. And I'm just expected to follow along with it. I think it's heavily incorporated into culture to where that we have so many religious norms that just shouldn't fucking be there. The fact that people go up to strangers on the street and say that they'll pray for them is wild to me. Like, you're just assuming that everybody's Christian, just assuming everybody believes in a God, and not just God, your God, and that prayer would be effective. Like, it's so crazy to me.
Well, I think, for me, I'm not one that does that, goes up to random people and does that, but I think the reason why some would is that they're not expecting or thinking that person's automatically, oh, they have to be believing God. I think it's more of, hey, you're in my thoughts, I'm hoping for the best of you, and that's their way of expressing it.
Yeah, and the fact that that's their way of expressing it is crazy and shows an integration of religion and culture that I think is unjustifiable.
Respect that.
Nobody's saying respect that. Maybe they should respect the possibility of somebody not following their faith.
And you should respect the fact that people do have faith and they have a way of expressing it, and that's the freedom that we're born with, not just in this country, just as a natural born human.
Great. Who's disrespecting their right to their faith?
You don't have to like it, but you have to respect it.
Who said that they can't have their faith, and how am I disrespecting their faith? Please.
You did. You're saying that people can't go to a random stranger that's down on their luck.
How is that limiting their faith? Like, in what way is that limiting their faith?
You're saying that they shouldn't.
If I can't stop somebody on the street and start a seance to talk to their dead relative because it's my religious practice, is that limiting my faith?
We're not talking about that. You're saying going up
We're
to somebody. We're talking
about religious expression, and you're saying, well, they should be allowed to religiously express in whatever way they want, and you saying that they maybe shouldn't do that out of respect for other people is disrespectful to their faith. That's what you're saying. By people going up to people and expressing their faith to people who might not want it, and saying, hey, maybe have respect for the fact that they might not be of your faith. That's disrespectful by telling people to have a little bit of consideration. That's limiting their religious freedom? Really?
Yeah, you're telling people they can't express themselves and letting someone know. I'm asking
that people have consideration. If that's so limiting to you, then oppression is so easy in that instance. Like, Jesus.
Well, it's no chip off my shoulder. You're telling me, you want me to prove you wrong. You want me to have my argument to you. I mean,
that wasn't the argument that I want you to prove me wrong on. I'm providing substantiation for the claim in the background. This is just a tangential argument about religious respect in public, which I think is heavily limited by Christian nationalist rhetoric that people provide.
Oh, that's political. Okay.
Yeah, religion is very much tied to politics when people vote on.
That are Christian.
Go for it. Sorry, I wasn't talking. Go ahead.
There's plenty of Democrats that are Christian.
Duh.
So to make it a political thing is just.
Do you think left versus right is the only politics that exist?
No, it's not, but it's the major ones that matter in America.
Right.
Yeah.
Did I say I was arguing the major politics or just a political point? Do you not think that people arguing that Christianity should be in, the power of government is a political stance, whether they're Republican or Democrat?
Why shouldn't it?
Why shouldn't we have... Okay. Great. Let's get back to the topic. Jesus Christ. Do you have any issues with my argumentation around freedom of religious expression being emphasized through limiting influence of religiosity in childhood?
Yeah, I think you should be able to raise your kids the way you want to raise them because they're your kids.
Cool.
It's the same argument that I hear from. It's the same argument I hear from people that say, "Well, you can't tell my kid he's not trans or she's not trans, and you shouldn't worry about other kids and that kind of thing." So,
do you think you can tell kids? Do you think you can tell parents not to beat their children?
Of course.
Oh, I thought you were for parents parenting how they want.
But I'm. So I'm going to flip that.
Suddenly you can morally critique parents? Great. Then we agree you can morally critique parents.
Why can't you address that? Why can't you address what I just said about that?
What did I not address? I refuted your point.
You didn't. You didn't refute it.
You literally just agreed that you can morally contest parents, and it's not just parents can parent however they want, don't critique it. I just refuted that point. You're just not listening.
It's funny, the worldview that you guys built.
Can you respond to that rather than just monologuing?
Respond to what?
I refuted your point. You said I didn't refute it. I give you substantiation as to how I refuted your point about let parents parent how they want. They want to do it, let them do it. I said we don't let parents parent how they want. We critique them all the time, whether they are pressuring their kids to follow a certain career path, whether it is pressuring them to have certain beliefs in like politics, if you're super, super strict about it. I think that there's plenty of things that and when it comes to like parenting, when it comes to beating your children, we definitely critique parents. So it's not just let parents parent, so you can't critique me. That's not a good defense.
A kid religious. That's not the same level as raising a kid religious. You're comparing beating your child.
I didn't say it was.
A kid to be Catholic or Christian.
I was addressing a specific point of let parents parent. So I provided an argument in which you wouldn't just let parents parent because you can critique parents on the way they parent.
Yeah, you can critique them all you want.
Great. So then maybe you should make a different argument other than let parents parent.
No, I could still say that. You can critique people, and at the end of the day, they're still going to do what they want to do.
We're not arguing what is realistic for people to do. We're arguing whether it is a valid or invalid moral critique.
Well, what's moral to you? What is morality to you?
Good pivot.
What do you base your morals off of?
Good pivot. We're arguing what is healthy or unhealthy when it comes to parenting. I'm asking you a question.
What exactly is morality to you? You don't have a religion, but then what is moral?
Good pivot. That's not what we're debating.
You can't even answer the question.
It is an unproductive question that is pivoting away from the topic.
How do you know? You don't even know why I'm asking the question.
Do you think I can't tell parents to stop beating their children with a belt if I don't substantiate a non-theistic moral framing?
Overall, just animals. What does it matter to you?
Can you answer that question?
I did.
No, you didn't. You dodged it. Can you answer the question, please?
Ask it again. Exactly. What?
Do you think that I cannot tell a parent to not beat their child with a stick if I do not substantiate a moral framework other than a theistic one?
No, I don't think you can. So what is your morality? What do you base your morality off of now? That's my question now.
You're just dumb. You're just dumb. I hate to break it to you. We do that all the time. There are religious people who debate with non-religious people, and you can tell those religious people to not beat their children without convincing them of an atheistic morality. I hate to break it to you. We argue from harm reduction all the time. I don't need to quote, actually all morals come from human brains, in that we're just like biologically predisposed to have humanity, and then I can build a moral framework off of humanity, because you're never going to accept that. You're never going to accept anything other than God. So that's never going to go anywhere. Like the first person who requested in here, it never goes anywhere. But people demand that if you don't debate subjective or subjective morality, that you're dodging. But the whole thing is that's a fucking dodge, because y'all are dodging my questions. Butters, how do I explain this? How do I explain this in shorthand without just having to kick people? Because that has to be what I do, because that's literally what they do every time. See, Smalls, you're still not listening. You came in here with the intentionality of not listening to a word that came out of my mouth. And there's the evidence. Keep running for my logic, Smalls. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. What's your disagreement with the background?
I don't have one. I know you're looking for opposition, so I'll wrap this up very quickly. But
no, you can give your thoughts in the comments. Opposition only. Y'all, I'm not wasting my time anymore. If you're just going to demand a subjective or subjective debate, I'm not going to engage in it. I've never engaged in it because, like, why would I waste my time? Every time I've had that debate, it's never gotten back to the topic. Not a single time. The first time y'all ever bring it back to the topic, then I'll engage in it. But I've never, never. If I just say harm reduction as a principle, something that most people agree on, whether you're religious or not, and that most people use as a foundation for 99% of the argumentation that they provide, they never accept that. It's never enough. Never enough, never enough. Because they're running from the debate to debate something fringe on the side that they know will never come back to the topic. It's a dodge. It's a fucking dodge. Hi, how are you?
Hey.
How old are you?
30.
All right, what's your thoughts on the background?
Well, I have kids and I teach them about all the world's major religions.
Great, then that wouldn't apply.
How so?
Because the whole point of raising them religious is you're raising them to follow a religion, not follow all religions. That's just not a thing people do.
Well, as a perennialist, I think it's, or omnist, I think that's, raising your kids religious in that sense.
In what sense? Can you give me that title again?
Omnist?
Just believing that all religions are true?
Well, no, it's kind of related to like the perennial philosophy.
Can you explain that for me?
It's that all religions are basically, reflections of a single metaphysical truth, which they all, interpret in their various ways.
Okay, so it's just a claim of theism being true without a specific religion being quoted.
Well, I suppose you could put it that way. I mean, it points to the common core of the world's major religions and mysticism. Mystical experiences, like beatific vision in Christianity is akin to nirvana in Buddhism, or Wu Wei in Taoism, and so forth. Samadhi in Hinduism.
What about atheism? Are you raising your children with the possibility of being atheist?
Well, I teach them about what atheism is. I think it's also, there can be an atheistic indoctrination if you grow up. Let's say you keep your children away.
Yeah, I don't think you should raise your kids to believe that God isn't true either. I think you should raise them to come to that truth of their own accord.
I agree, and I hear some atheist parents talk about how they keep their kids completely away from religion, and I think that's kind of an atheistic indoctrination.
Well, then I'm arguing for secularism, not atheism.
Well, as long as it doesn't entail something like that, I think it's fine.
Great, I argued it does not.
Yeah, well, I think you'd find some atheists out there that, deliberately keep their kids from learning anything about.
Well, and you can find some Christian people out there who keep their kids from atheist beliefs. Like, what do you mean? Nobody's arguing that every atheist has the maximal, moral framework for parenting. That's not my claim.
Then what's your claim?
My claim is that raising them to believe in a God or not believe in a God or gods or force influences their spirituality, which you should limit influence on out of respect for people's individual beliefs, to have a mindset in society of freedom of religion, not just in legality and
you
concept.
Consider yourself spiritual?
Anything spiritual?
No, I said you consider yourself spiritual.
No.
So you don't believe in spirituality?
I believe spirituality is a concept. I don't believe in spiritual claims. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in the soul. I don't believe in any of that. I'm agnostic atheist personally.
What about what William James called mystical experience?
I don't know what that is.
It's well established within the scientific literature. Neuroscience studies it.
Does it make spiritual claims? If so, give me an example.
Yeah, it does. It says that there is a kind of established state of consciousness that people enter into, which can be described as spiritual or mystical, and it's recognized within neuroscience. and that people engage either through meditation or contemplation, or
well, then I'd have to see substantiation of how that becomes spiritual. My understanding of spirituality is like non-natural claims when it comes to ghosts or the soul or things that cannot be demonstrable, that rely on faith. That's my understanding of spiritual.
Well, are you familiar with like Google Scholar? Where it searches like peer-reviewed papers. If you just type in the word mystical experience in Google Scholar, you'll see dozens.
But you'll see like scientific articles on evidence of like what is it? Out of body experiences, which I also don't believe in. I don't believe in every scientific claim either. There are theories that aren't 100% fact too.
I think they're a little bit more established than that, though.
Then I'd have to look into the evidence of that specific claim. But so far, I do not accept any spiritual claim as a personal belief. And also, my personal beliefs aren't a presupposition for this conversation to be productive. Like, I don't need to be religious or not religious in order to make this claim.
Well, I think you'd find it interesting. I mean, they've shown that, even atheists who undergo mystical experience, they no longer identify with atheism afterwards. A lot of professionals consider.
Congrats! Are you trying to convert me? Or are you trying to debate the background?
No, I'm just saying that.
I'm talking about raising children religious, not about whether you want to send all atheists to go have a spiritual experience. Why are you bringing this up?
Well, it may be the case that God does exist.
Congrats! This isn't the space for your preaching.
I'm not preaching.
Then why bring up the possibility of God existing?
Because you're excluding it as a factor that.
Cunt. Y'all, I'm not going to sit here and be preached at. That was my entire childhood. I've had enough. That's what I think of your opinion. Like, legitimately. Sorry, I've been preached at enough. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, even some atheists are going to be convinced of God or like some spiritual claims being true. I'm like, and what? Well, maybe God's real. I'm like, and nobody said it was impossible. Like, the fuck? Who are you arguing? You're not filling me in on what science says. You're using specific scientific claims of shit I haven't looked into to try to convince me that whether I believe it or not, God is real. That's what you're trying to bring up. I feel like anybody who heard what you said comes away with that takeaway. There was an intentionality behind bringing up those examples. Well, a lot of atheist people don't identify as atheist after they heard this. Like, come on. Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. I usually agree with you on most, so I just want to ask a clarifying question because we probably agree on this. I'm not sure. When you say stop raising children religious, do you mean like all religions, or do you just mean, because I know there's certain religions.
I apply to atheism too. It's more about spiritual claims being influenced. I think that people shouldn't be sold a certain worldview of spirituality from childhood. I think that's extremely manipulative, and those are radical claims that should be pursued individually. I see the same with the flat earth theory or like other theories that are super radical or like aliens, ghosts, shit like that. It's like people can, if people can find like evidence to support radical beliefs, that's for them to decide and them to pursue, not to be prescribed for you. The prescription should only be based on evidence and like necessity of being like a decent human being as an adult, not out of like faith to another person's like religion that they want you to believe in.
All right, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think we agree. I'll drop down. Thank you. I'll be in the comments.
All right, appreciate it.
I was like, let me, and then I saw 5, 4, 3, 2. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I think I'm pro religion. I wanted to tell you a story. It's not long.
Better not be.
Oh no. There I was helped. Okay, this is what's challenging about religion. There was a man who was very Catholic, but also gay, and it was institution. I work in an institution. What he had was a crisis involving the conflict between his religion and his sexuality. Now, I'm of the faith of Judaism. So it was a great stretch for me to be going through the 10 Commandments with this man. And I'm telling you, religion is positive, but it has danger to it. And this is the danger to it, is when we forget what it's for. Religion is supposed to exist for the purpose of comforting us. If it doesn't do that, then it's not religion, it's blasphemy. That's what I came up here to say.
That's your interpretation of religion. You're just trying to sell me on your interpretation of religion, just like other people are trying to sell me that their religion is true. I don't buy your interpretation, and I don't buy the religion, whether you think it's good and nice or not. Because this isn't about religion being mean. It's about religious doctrine being manipulative towards worldviews developing in childhood. That's the point.
So it harms so much, because then we have a man who is almost 30 years old, who is crying his eyes out because he thinks he's not safe. He's not safe in the world, in the universe, for being gay. It was one of the hardest things I had dealt with at the institution. So I'm happy.
What argument is this proving?
It's proving that religion, if it is done wrong, if you can't sell people religion.
This isn't about being done wrong. It's about manipulation. Do you think if you do it in a nice way that they're less likely to be convinced of it? No.
So
it's about convincing them that God is real, which I feel like I've made it plenty clear since you've been in here. You should know better than to make that claim.
I see. Okay, so for me, I am pro-religion because of the comfort. But again, if it doesn't provide,
I don't give a shit about your comfort. If it's comforting for somebody to believe in aliens, doesn't mean you should make me believe in aliens too.
You shouldn't make
off.
But
your radical beliefs are yours. Stop pushing it on other people. Stop pushing it on children who don't know what's right or wrong or true or false yet. These are radical beliefs that should not be prescribed for new people coming into the world. That skews religiosity in the public.
Yeah, but
it's such a bad standard.
The person crying was not even a child. They were an adult. Anyways, I will drop now.
Same with people in AA. Do you think it's okay to go manipulate people to believe in God when they're at their lowest in AA?
Yes. And the step fucking 3.
Your only argument is comfort. So you should say yes there, unless you admit that there is a negative aspect to manipulating people into belief.
Yeah. There's one man who told me how to get around it. It says,
"Are you going to answer?"
The answer is no. I think
there is no negative aspects to manipulating people into belief.
Oh well, if there's a negative aspect into manipulating someone into a belief that will be harmful to them, yes. I don't think there's a negative.
You're adding another clarifier. That would be harmful because you think your religion cannot be harmful if it's done in your specific methodology.
Yeah, so I am in the theory that if done
By the way, then you would be making the argument, raising children religious is only moral if it's my specific interpretation of my religion. You're not making an argument for raising children religious being moral.
Yeah, then I would be claiming to have a very, very, very cut moral compass, that I would definitely have a very high moral level, that I would say that my morality guideline personally as Mike would be close to divine. If so, then yes, that's what I'm saying. But no one can really say this about themselves because we're all flawed. But yeah, that's the goal. For sure, that's the goal. Even though the way you said it shows...
It's not just a moral compass. It is truth-based. It is claims of reality, of the spiritual. And you cannot just attach those two together and act like you're just teaching people to be good people or to give them comfort if you're also telling them to believe in what you believe in when it comes to gods, ghosts, the soul, the afterlife. You cannot just act like that's like, oh, it's just nothing. It's just a little sprinkles on top. Like, no, that is a huge part that is extremely manipulative to people's worldview. It's not just comfort. It comes with conditions and faith.
That's really interesting. You know what? Can you leave that with me to think about? That's very interesting how you said that, because that factor I hadn't considered, but in fact, it's valid. I don't think, though, that means necessarily that theotic religion is for sure going to be harmful, because I also noticed.
I never said I never said it's going to be harmful.
I know you never said that. I'm not saying you did. But what I'm saying is that I believe that a religion has been tainted, manipulated, and changed. There was a time, though. There was a time when, like what you said, things weren't shoved down, but more offered. I don't think that I'm going to be able to contribute much more intellect than what you have already given me to think about, because now you've given me something to think about. But it has become so harmful that my dear friend cried for his immortal soul. This is unacceptable today. Okay. We must never allow this to happen.
Children cry for their souls all the time when they have a fear of hell.
27 years old, honey, child. We got to do something about the religion. It's hurting people when it should be helping people.
There are people who speak in tongues going to churches. We're not going to act like it's a child or adult thing. It's a religion thing.
I hope, you know what? What if you're right, though?
What if? That's the biggest argument with religious people. What if? Because it's reliant on faith. This isn't scientific, evidence-based, 100% we believe in it and there's no other possibility, or it's just like the most logical conclusion to come to. These are still radical beliefs that a higher power exists and that there was intentionality in design of creation. That is not some shit you can just say, well, it feels right to me. It seems right to me. So that's enough for me, and it should be enough for everybody else, and it doesn't matter if I convince them that it's true.
It can be all right for you. I say, if it was good for the children of Judah, it's good enough for me, right?
Okay.
Well, thank you for having me. GayInDespair. What's your username?
GayInDespair. Thank you.
GayInDespair. Oh no, dear. I thought it was Desire.
Thank you for being respectful. We're going to move on to some opposition. Oh no, you're in despair. Oh no. Yes, Julie, I agree. Also, Daisy, yes, I also agree with that. That's another impact of raising them in one religion to where it's just kind of creating a stigma. That's why I also argue for LGBTQ education, because if you're only teaching about straight people, you're only teaching about one religion, you're only teaching about one race, you're only teaching about one hair color, you're only teaching about one kind of like right-handed people, not left-handed people, there's a stigma that's created towards anybody who isn't included in information. If you aren't knowledgeable about groups, you are much more likely to be bigoted towards them. That's how information works in the modern world. That's why they argue so heavily to restrict education about groups they don't like, because they want the general public to hate them as much as they do. That's how information works. You're going to be like, well, I've never run into somebody who's like that. They're too different. People who are too different without understanding are automatically demonized. It's just how humanity works. I'm sorry. It doesn't make it good or moral. It's just kind of how it works. That's why you argue against ignorance, which leads to hatred, with education. And I think if you have education on a bunch of religions before you make a choice about what you want to pursue belief-wise or make prescriptions as to what you believe, you should have all the information available with limited bias. And raising a child within a religious environment is like bias central. It is just like acting as if they're going to make an informed decision when they have one truth being shown from a parent figure to a child their entire childhood. Acting like that has no influence on whether they are just as likely to be believe in a monotheistic God or a polytheistic God or a force rather than a God, or ghosts or souls. Like, so much religion has packed in beliefs about everything else that disqualifies other truths as well, rather than just affirming one. So even if you don't believe in that one exactly, you still have all that bias against those other truths that were ruled out by that one religion, right? Let's say the Bible says ghosts don't exist. If you are like, well, I'm not so sold on Christianity, but I still know that ghosts don't exist, so maybe I'll follow another religion that also says ghosts don't exist. That's kind of how religious bias works when you're thinking about religious upbringing. Yes, they might change their mind about their belief, but you still packed in so much bias that it's still extremely influential towards what beliefs they might accept. And I feel like that's what people don't consider. They think that that influence is just gone when they change beliefs. Right? That's kind of where I think like a lot of deconstruction happens, is like there's so much you just accept as true, and you're just like, oh shit, I didn't even think of that being true only because I was told of this religious truth. It's like, oh shit, because it's instilled. We're products of our environment. We're products of our parents like raising us a certain way. Like it just happens. It's just humanity, and I'm sick of pretending as if it's not. I'm sick of like trying to placate religious people by being like, no, you're not manipulating people. No. That's like totally cool. Because I knew what it was like being raised in that. And I know there's a bunch of other people being raised in it right now who are literally just sucking it up because they don't want to piss their parents off. And that they are literally committing themselves to a faith out of comfort of their household or community. That is fucked to me. That is so manipulative and pressuring and fucked to me. And then imagine that on a grand scale in society where people are arguing that your politicians should be Christian, that these certain religious like people should have certain positions of power to influence politics and society more. Then it's no longer just your child. It's everyone around you. And you suddenly like don't care that you're pushing it on everyone around you because I'm just voting for my beliefs. I'm just voting for what I personally believe in. Sure, some Muslim people not having the exact same protections might be an outcome of pushing political power for only Christians, but like, I'm just voting for what I believe in. You have to realize that what you vote for has impacts. Like, it's crazy to me that people don't understand the impacts of raising a child within religion. They think it's just like, well, I believe it, so they can believe it. Anything past that, it's just disrespect to my faith. You can't say it. You can't criticize me. Like, girl, play victim to somebody else who will buy that shit. I've heard it before, not buying it. All right. Let's try one more. Oh my god, it's already 4 a.m. Fuck me. Hi, how are you?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, how old are you?
I'm 18.
What year were you born?
2007.
Okay, what's your thoughts on the background?
Yeah, I don't see like the reason why we should do that. I think it's an okay thing to raise a child religious.
Do you understand why some people might have issues with it?
Not really, no.
No consideration. Like, you've never thought about this before.
Yeah, I told you I don't see a reason why this should be the case.
Okay. I think that we should promote free thinking when it comes to religious faith, and that people shouldn't be pressured to follow a faith of their parents just because their parents want them to. I'm sure as an adult, you value your religious autonomy a lot, and you don't want other people to pressure you to follow another faith. Like when you respect your neighbor's ability to practice their own faith, and it would be disrespectful to go to preach to them about yours. You understand that boundary. I think that promotes this idea that we have a sense of respect for other people's religious autonomy and ability to practice their own faith. I think that we should extend that consideration into the household and not predispose people through religious upbringing to have an extreme bias towards the faith you want them to believe.
Yeah, and like, what's the argument that being raised religious is going to stop free thinking?
Well, the whole point is that it influences their adult religiosity statistically. That's like the whole point of
every single belief, right? every single belief is going to influence someone's, thinking in some type of way.
Yeah, that's manipulative. Do you care about their free thinking about
Like
the belief
even
system or not?
you would agree that like children with, for example, like leftist parents or children that go to the university in a specific district is most likely give some kind of induction on what their political view is going to be, right? You agree with that?
Yeah, I think there's certain influences that are more okay than others. I think religious influence is one thing that should be extremely limited when it comes to how we view religion in society as being like, oh, well, you're entitled to your beliefs, I'm entitled to mine. We don't have that same respect when it comes to the discourse around politics and stuff, right?
Wait, so you're okay with it? You just don't agree with religion, right? That's what it sounds like.
Is that really what you heard from what I said?
Yeah, because I told you that every single belief is going to influence someone's thinking in some type of way, right? And then you agreed with that, and you said, yeah, but I think that some of those are better than, for example, the religion one. So I'm just wondering, like, it sounds like you just have a problem with religion and you don't want other people to be religious.
I think that's a very bad faith interpretation of what I was saying. I'm fine with people being religious as long as it's of their own accord. Religious autonomy doesn't mean that I don't want people to ever choose religion. I think that's a very bad faith interpretation of what I said.
So why exactly do you have a problem with religious influence and not like political?
No offense, this is going nowhere. He wasn't listening to a word I was saying. It was never going to be productive. There's no way. No wonder God created hell. No matter how facts are shown, people still follow the teachings of Paul. I don't believe in hell. As they grow, they learn, they gain information, and then they can choose when they're older. I agree. And I'm fine with religion being talked about at younger ages. It's not an echo chamber. I've debated a bunch of people, and as long as they're respectful and productive, it's a good conversation. But if they're denying being able to respond to any questions or further the conversation, then it's going nowhere. And I'm not going to waste my time with somebody who is so intentional with not having a productive discussion. Sorry, but I call bullshit on their attempted good faith interpretations of my arguments. Sorry, I don't want to waste my time. All right, y'all. I highly recommend the show Unreal. If anybody has seen it, I could rant about that show forever. It is the most insane drama I have ever seen. Your entire argument is in bad faith. I completely justified my argument from front to back. I don't know how you're applying bad faith, but I applied genuine logic in every implementation of this stance. So if that's supposed to be a baseless attack, it doesn't work. And all of my argumentations in this live have proved it. Thank you. But yeah, Unreal is an insane show. It's a drama, and it's about it's like the behind scenes of The Bachelor if it was a drama, and the main character is insane. Everybody's insane. It's so toxic. Everybody is fucking crazy. And it's all about how they manipulate everybody behind the scenes to make a profitable show and to create as much drama as possible. But then the main girl's also sleeping with like the guy on The Bachelor. And then there's like drug use and there's sex behind the scenes. And there's like, it's insane. And then there's like a new girl intern is like super fucking great. It's awesome. I love it. I just started rewatching it. It's amazing. I highly recommend. And then there's like a weird dynamic between the two like strong female leads that are super independent and stuff, but they're just like constantly fucked over by the men in the show. It's wild. I think the best way is discussing it, but in more of a third person sense. At what age and through what implementation? The way children should be raised is such that each will choose their religion when ready. I agree. I know religions and cults can have a lot of parallels when it comes to pressure to conform and when it comes to methodology of recruiting and a lot of methodology of emotional pleading or shame that are involved when it comes to belief, depending on your denomination or enforcement. But it's just like when people hear the word cult, their brains shut off, and it's just not productive. It's just like, the furthest, most demonizing language I'm willing to use is manipulative. Because it's enough to trigger people, but people still engage with it, right? But when they hear cult, they're just like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. It's nothing like that. You don't even fucking know what you're talking about. I'm not even gonna listen to you. It's like their brains shut off and it's just over. There's no way. There's no coming back from that. That's why I try to avoid that. And I also try to avoid bringing up my upbringing because people are just like, oh, it's just your personal feelings. Oh, it's just your personal feelings about it. You're just bitter. So none of the argumentation you provided, none of the logic you used, and none of the reasoning you had is valid at all. And I don't need to respond to literally any of it because I can just call you bitter. That's like, it's like people are constantly looking for an out to not engage in good faith, to just get like dunks on people. And it's just like, you weren't here to debate. You were just here to shit on somebody that you're mad is providing a position that you disagree with. Right? Like I've dealt with it before and I see it a mile away, which is why I try to not engage in it. I barely ever bring up my own personal experience for a reason. Because people think that it's like the only reason I believe what I believe. But like, even if I was Christian, I would still believe it. It's your own personal belief. You shouldn't prescribe your own personal belief for everybody else on all instances. And we recognize that when it comes to career path, or when it comes to like certain politics, or when it comes to certain like lifestyles, when it comes to like your hobbies and shit. It's like there's so much that you give control for. Religion is one of those things, especially if like, oh, well, I'm not going to force my friends to be religious. I'm not going to force my parents to be religious. I'm not going to force my peers to be religious. Why are you forcing children, like pressuring children to be religious? Why? If you have that consideration for everybody in your life, that you allow them to believe what they want to believe, why you need your children to believe what you want to believe when it comes to religion? It's just so controlling. Why do you apply a different standard? If children aren't capable of informed decisions, what's wrong with instilling values? Because it's not just values, it's belief in a God. Y'all try to hand wave that as if it's just like, well, I'm just telling them to be a nice person. No, if you just wanted to teach them to be a nice person, you'd show them a fucking anti-bullying campaign. You wouldn't tell them to commit their lives to a savior. Let's fucking be real about that shit. It's not just values. It is belief in a higher power that you build community on. Be honest about it. People aren't fucking honest about this shit. That's what's so exhausting. But y'all, I'm gonna go watch that show. Thank you for joining. If you didn't get to join tonight, feel free to request another night. I'm trying to get my engagement back up. I got up to like, 60 max? Fuck me. People don't like talking about this topic. But, I'll keep trying. Thank you for the engagement. And I saw all of your supportive comments because there weren't that many. So thank you.
Oh my